as you guys know, there's always a lot of talk about millennials and a lot of judgment about the way that they're living their lives. And recently in the New York Times, there was an opinion piece written by an English professor by the name of Andrew Reiner. And he's really concerned about the fact that new information indicates that people are getting married later in life. In fact, the average age for a female is now 27. Average age for a male is 29. I'm currently 27. I'm nowhere near marriage, so that kind of worries me that that's considered late.
I'm 30.
Yeah, I don't even
I'm an old maid.
That's not late. I mean, anyway, but so he's really worried about this, and he thinks that people are focusing way too much on the hookup culture and not on love. He even gets into the topic of oxytocin and how, you know, of course you experience a release of oxytocin when you're having sex, but you can get the same feeling if you cuddle. So why don't you do that? Why don't you find meaningful relationships?
It does not feel the same in my nether regions when I cuddle.
Oh, really?
Than when I have sex. It's not the same.
You're not cuddling, right?
It is not the same. I'm just going to put that out there.
Fair enough, fair enough. So Kara, since you made that provocative statement.
You're not anti-cuddling, are you?
No, I'm not anti-cuddling. I'm just saying I can't come from cuddling.
I get you. I get you.
Just let me clarify there.
All right, so what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I read his piece and I felt like he was being a little, he was going a little overboard with hookup culture as if it's something new. But
also, he's an English professor.
Why is he writing?
Yeah, it's like very random.
He's a little too concerned with the sex lives of his students.
He
if you
is.
ask me.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
You know, who knows if there's anything to his argument? This is such a difficult topic to talk about from a scientific perspective. I've always felt that way. There are, you know, great researchers out there, great anthropologists who claim to be love experts, who love to talk about the neurobiology of love, or they love to talk about, and you know, and they're making great headway, and they make really interesting, important points. But at the same time, there's really no way to know. We still don't understand how brain becomes mind. We still don't understand where kind of these thoughts, we understand why we have thoughts, but we don't understand, you know, I can't download myself into your brain and really have true empathy for what you're experiencing and what you're feeling. And this concept of love that is so culturally significant is so different for everybody.
You're getting deep. Like when I read his piece, what I was thinking about was, you know, why is there so much of an emphasis on marriage, right? What if you're living your life in a certain way? Let's say you are part of the hookup culture and you have a new partner every night, and you're doing so in a responsible way where you're protected. Why is that something to be judged? Why is there such an emphasis, not only in society as a whole, but even in our tax code to get married?
And why from the outside is there this idea of, oh, you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
There's something, you're damaged. Something must have happened throughout your life to make you want to make the decision to have multiple partners.
well,
like it's crazy.
In relation to you guys, I got married at 38.
Okay.
So you've got time.
All right.
And I would just sort of say, from my own personal opinion, is I would pity the poor woman that would have married me when I was 22. I was, you know, I think in many ways a self-centered idiot. So it took a while to mature. Relationships are not something that they're the most complicated things we do. Of course, there has to be a learning curve. And I think you have to go through meeting people, interacting with people, having good relationships, having not so good relationships, and you grow from that, and you go on. And my wife should thank all my former girlfriends, because they're the ones who sort of civilized me as I grew older, you know?
To me, this is a measure of progress. And I remember there's kind of a part in this piece where he says something like, yeah, I mean, some good things have come out of it, like women's lib or whatever. And it's like, really, it's huge for women, because historically women were property. Historically, women were married off when they were very young, often significantly younger than the men, and they served their husbands. That was the purpose of them. And I think for women as a whole, being able to have a sense of independence, get your education, go through the dating, do the things that you want to do in life, and then decide to settle down, if you even decide to settle down, is huge for us being able to contribute to the workforce, to be able to have the female perspective in the STEM fields, which, as we were talking about during the break, is so important for the evolution evolution of science. I mean, it's been huge for us, and I see this as a measure of progress.
Chris, jump in, because I mean, we have Kara here spouting this feminazi nonsense.
Of course,
And we need,
I know. I can't wait to see the YouTube comment.
We need a no. I totally agree with you. He actually didn't get into that at all with his piece. He didn't talk about how the reason why women are choosing to get married later is because they're becoming more educated.
Exactly.
Going to your classes and learning from whatever it is you're teaching. But Chris, what do you think? By the way, do you like me calling you Chris?
You can call me anything you want.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think you started out by calling me Peter, so whatever. Strangely, everyone who forgets my name except you has called me Steve. So I'm sort of just going with Steve.
I just like Chris. It just sounds like, you know,
no,
casual.
I was always
like
Chris till I moved to Spain, and in Spain, Chris is strictly a woman's name. So that's when it
I
became
see.
Christopher. Not that I got fancy,
Well, I apologize for that tangent. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
anything, yeah. I'm in favor of anything that makes Kara come.
Oh, really?
Yes. No, I actually know the guy who started the cuddle parties, the whole cuddle party thing, Reed Mahalko.
Were they on ecstasy? I hope they were on ecstasy.
I don't think so, but
That would make
ecstasy,
it better.
interestingly, ecstasy is very similar to the oxytocin. I always mix up oxytocin and OxyContin,
I know,
which is
me
a bad
too.
thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm completely lost now. I don't know what the hell
it's
we're
totally
talking
fine.
about.
It's totally fine. You talk about
I'm
the
in
cuddle
favor. Look,
parties.
I think early marriage is stupid, right? I was talking to a friend of mine. It's like I've known this guy since we were 14, right? And we were talking about this recent spate of cases of 24, 25-year-old high school teachers, female teachers, having affairs with male students who are 15, 16, somewhere in there. And we were talking about how, when we were that age, it would have been like, score, fantastic. Now he's got kids that age, sons that age, and he's like, I said, well, how would you feel? He's like, yeah, it's changed,
Right.
And I was thinking how funny it is, tragic in some senses, that the one area of life where we don't allow older people to teach younger people is in sexuality, right? Imagine if kids learned to drive the way they learn relationships. Like, here's the car.
Where they rely on one another.
Nobody is blind leading the blind,
Okay,
right?
so I'm trying to understand what your suggestion is. It's making me a little uncomfortable, but I mean.
I think this thing, forget the English teacher.
So one of the points that I sort of drew from the articles was that sort of this claim that this particular generation is lacking in empathy. That they can't. And as someone who's now been teaching for 20, 30 years and been at UCL a long time, I would have to say the students that I'm teaching now have just as much empathy and are as concerned about the world as the ones that were there 20 years ago. That hasn't changed. I think to sort of Kara's point a bit, there's a lot more opportunity, but there's a lot more pressure on them as well. Yes. So kids are now leaving university not knowing what they're going to do with their lives, not necessarily having a job, having huge student loans, debts over their head. And so, maybe they have a lot more things to worry about than developing a relationship. I mean, they really don't know what they're going to do with their lives.
I think we have a sense that we want to get our shit under control first. Yeah. I don't want my burden to be somebody else's burden. I don't think it is culturally smiled upon anymore either for women. Now you're a gold digger if you get married when you're young to a rich man and he's expected to pay your bills. When 20 years ago, maybe not 20, 50 years ago, historically, all the way back, that's what it was.
You would look for someone to take care of you.
You did not earn your own way, and
because you guys could not have a career that you're doing now.
Exactly. I want to earn my own way, so I go to college. I have student loan debt. I want to work that off on my own. I want a sense of independence, and I want to feel like I did this myself before I'm even ready to think about starting a life with somebody else.
And the kind of people who are making a big deal about getting married early are also the people who would make a big deal about divorce, right? And what a tragedy divorce is. Well, you're not going to sign on to a career at 22 years of age for life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's silly. I'm still having. Oh, sorry.